This week on Anything is Possible, one of my broadcast idols, Pete Micheals, the eye in the sky, he started with this and he ended up way up here. Wait until you hear his story of possibility next on Anything is Possible. This is Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill, and these are great stories about great people like Pete Micheals who prove that anything is possible. So you're okay mentioning your age?
Oh, sure, why not?
Because I didn't know this until like seconds ago. How old are you?
I will be 72 in August.
Man, you look fantastic.
And that's why I was willing to tell you how old I was. That way, somebody would say, hey, he looks great.
We know you as the eye in the sky, Pete Micheals. Where does your story start?
My story starts, if we go back to the beginning, born in Miami, lived a few years as a child, Syracuse, New York, many years. Went to education, of course, high school. Some hours at SU, some hours later on at UT, but never graduated. There were opportunities, and I could not turn down the opportunities.
Tell me about your family, because you are a family guy.
I am a family guy. I've got a great wife, Jean, who's a freelance paralegal. She's she's my third wife, but the first two are deceased. But I have two children from my first wife. Actually, I've got a son as well that I didn't know I had till a few years ago, but apparently I had a lot more fun in high school than I remembered.
What was that like discovering that?
It was interesting. He contacted my daughter, who lived in central New York. He said, hey, look, I think I might be your brother. And of course, my daughter, being like me, said, yeah, right, good one. It all worked out. It's a very long story, but he's a good guy. He's been on his own since he was 14 years old, got a nice family. And so in addition to my daughters, I have 7 grandchildren and a 5-year-old great-granddaughter.
You know what? You have a wonderful energy about yourself, and it's a forward motion. You mentioned 2 deceased wives in a split second, but I know that had to be tough. Well,
it's no tougher than most people go through. I mean, it's the second wife, Debbie, passed away in '92. There was an accident, and that in itself is a story.
Were you reporting that day?
Interestingly enough, I had flown that morning. She took me to the airport. I had flown that morning to Shreveport, where I was starting another traffic network with an officer there and a friend of his in Shreveport. So I left the house, dropped me off at the airport, probably 6:45 or 7. And I, at that point, had some trouble reaching her throughout the day and knew nothing until maybe 5:30 that afternoon. It was kind of hush-hush. I knew something was off. I'm in Louisiana, and I'm sitting in a chair like this at an officer's home who we were in business with, and held out down the sidewalk, and here comes, at the time, Sheriff Tim Hutchison and Pastor Larry Trotter, who was program director at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there thinking, if Sheriff Hutchison has come all this way to get me, I don't know what I did, but it must be pretty bad. And they walked in the door, and I said, hey, what you guys doing here? And Tim, very good friend of mine since I've been in Knoxville, has looked and said, it's about Debbie. And at that moment, I said to him, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't the worst possible situation, would you? He said, no, I wouldn't. I said, okay. And at that moment, I was fortunate enough, or blessed, to know that there was nothing I could do about it. And for whatever reason it happened, it happened. And someday, when I'm long gone, I'll understand it. But I didn't worry about it. There's nothing I could do. There was a lot to be done with family, but.
You know what? Like I said, you have this forward motion to your personal energy, right? And it resonates even in that story. I wonder where that comes from. This, it is what it is, I am who I am, and you snap your chin strap, next play.
I'm not sure. Was it my religious background relative to being a Catholic? I'm not sure. When I was in Catholic church and I was a kid, they were saying the Mass in Latin. And so I was there. I knew it was special, but I didn't know what was going on. My parents' father came from little or nothing, without a dad since he was 9 years old, but built his own business.
Drive. You got to get there. You got to go, right?
You do, but you have to have a reason to go. It's I try my best to stay in shape. I try my best to keep weight down, which is hard, but you have to have a reason to do it. I love traveling. I have a beautiful wife who loves to work out and takes care of herself. You have to have a reason to do it. You have to have a reason. You need to be successful, but you have to know why. You have to know where you're going. You have to know why you're heading there. And that's the simplest way I can explain it. For whatever reason, it came naturally to me. I went to New York City. For some reason, I was thinking I was going to go to NYU. I don't know why, but that didn't work out. Went to a vocational broadcasting academy in New York. That worked out. I worked for with NBC for a year while in school, with scripts and running errands and that type of thing. So I was on my own in New York City when I was 18 for a year. Maybe that teaches you to keep going.
Yeah, it does. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, I want to start with your why and this incredible business you've built. I've been watching you from a distance for a while, and I know what you do in the air, but I've been amazed at the business that you've built.
Yeah.
My guest is Pete Micheals, as you know him. He's the eye in the sky. More in a moment on Anything is Possible.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
They put me in a AMC Gremlin. They put me in a Gremlin with a mobile phone the size of a Samsonite suitcase. And they said, report traffic.
You said you have to have a why. What's your why?
I think part of it is wanting my children to look and be proud and to say, hey, look, my dad has done this, I'm proud of that. To make sure that my family, my wife and family, they're proud. And to make sure that I do something that hopefully will benefit them in the long run. One thing I think I don't want to say I worry about it, but I'm concerned about is when it comes my time to move on, I don't want to leave my wife and children with a medical burden or without being taken care of. So I get up every morning motivated by the fact that I'm working for myself. And as long as I can work for myself, I get to keep most of the money, of course, pay all the expenses.
Right.
But to keep most of the money, but able to put away enough to where I could take care of myself and my family, because we will never make what we're worth working for somebody else.
So how did you end up in this business doing this? I know you love to fly, but how did you, because I understand that you used to run nightclubs or you look like a Vegas guy. Like you look like you could be running Encore in Vegas or Aria, or you look like the guy, hey, we got $1 billion, let's go play.
One time back in 1980, when I had gone to Vegas for the first time, I got to stay at the Sands, where of course Frank Sinatra and all the guys used to hang out many years ago. And at one point, being a casino manager or host appealed to me, until I realized again it was a job.
And now you'd own it. You wouldn't be a host. You would be writing the checks for the host. But how'd you end up here?
Came to Knoxville. I worked the first disco, one of the first discos in the world in Syracuse in 1969. It was called The Scene. It was ultimately Uncle Sam's. They opened up all around the country. I trained disc jockeys, set up the music, sound systems, and around 74 or so, they wanted me to travel. And in my travels, I came to Knoxville. And on Alcoa Highway, the location is where there's a big national fitness center on Alcoa Highway. That used to be Uncle Sam's. Before Uncle Sam's, it was the Senators Club or the Executive Club. And we came into Knoxville after opening a club in Minneapolis just to spend a couple of months to train. We fell in love immediately. First time I came to Knoxville, down Alcoa Highway in April, the dogwoods, beautiful day, and I'm thinking, not knowing anything about Tennessee, being an arrogant Yankee,
Right.
which some claim I still am, but why would I want to move to Tennessee? Even driving down Alcoa Highway that day, it was so beautiful. This is a great place. If I was ever going to move somewhere, I might consider this. And sure enough, the rest is history. I stayed in Knoxville. I based my corporate office for American events, Uncle Sam's out of Knoxville, traveled around the country, and stayed in Knoxville. Moving on to the reporting, although my first radio job out of broadcasting school was in Syracuse, and TV job there in production, I got a part-time job at a radio station in town. It was called 15Q. It was WKVQ, a small AM station. A lot of the folks who are still on the air were there at the time. And they wanted to do traffic reports. And I had flown one time with a guy in Syracuse for a TV station, and he took me up. His name was Captain Scott Gordon. And he flew around and just looked. He just reported what he saw. There were no scanners, no details. But I found that interesting. To backtrack a little bit, 15Q, can you do traffic? Oh, sure, I could do traffic. They put me in a Gremlin. I forget who made the Gremlin.
AMC.
AMC Gremlin. They put me in a Gremlin with a mobile phone the size of a Samsonite suitcase. And they said, report traffic. I did that. It worked out pretty well. Then I went on and moved on to WRJZ, which at the time was the new 62 at WRJZ, and they had somebody doing traffic from the air, and they were leasing a plane and pilot and paying the reporter. The guy went on vacation. Said, "Could you fill in?" I said, "Sure, I'll fill in." And flew around, did the job. They gave me his job. They gave me the job. As time went on, I thought, well, you know what? If I'm up here, and I'm going to be up here all these hours, why don't I learn how to fly? At least get that out of it. Okay, learning how to fly. I didn't know much about business, but I knew, wait a minute, somebody's paying for all this. You know, why don't they pay me as the pilot? Figure that out. Wait a minute, they're leasing a plane. Well, why don't I get my own plane? Great idea. Went home to my wife, Debbie at the time. We were living, if you know where the Hillwood Apartments are.
Yeah.
I was living at the Hillwood Apartments, one and a half bedroom, small, a little place. And I went in one day and, hey, come here, I gotta tell you something. We're gonna start a business. What are we gonna do? We're gonna do traffic reporting. So, well, you're already doing that. No. I'm gonna buy an airplane. And she said, well, two questions. Number one, do you have a license? I said, well, no, not yet. I said,
but I will.
And the reason I will is because we're going to buy an airplane first. So you're going to buy an airplane without a license? Yeah.
It'll make you get one.
It will. She went in the other room, came out with our checkbook. She said, you see what this says right here? That's our current balance of the checkbook. It was $7.10.
Wow.
I said, I can do it. I can make it work. I went to a bank. I got a station to carry my reports. I said, I wanted to buy a plane. I went to the bank, said, I got a couple of sponsors. The bank at the time, which it seems like it was Hamilton or, you know what? I've heard you on the air. It was a lot more there was a lot more flexibility back then with banking. They gave me my first loan. I bought my first plane.
What kind of plane?
Cessna 172, a 4-passenger, single engine, fixed, good little plane. So now I've got the contract with the station. I've got an airplane, but I don't have a license. Just a minor detail, I forgot, I just conveniently forgot to tell the station I don't have a license. So I went out and I found commercial pilots who were trying to build their hours. But in order to build their hours, they had to rent airplanes and they had to, pay for it. Come fly for me. Come fly for me. You write the hours. You take credit for the hours until I get my license. They fly. They get the hours. I get a free pilot, and here we go. We're off and flying. That's 31,000 hours ago.
Wow.
The flight time. So I don't know, Helen. I have no idea what made me think of that, other than the same reason I never got a degree, whether it be SU or UT. There was something else. There was something else. There was another opportunity, something else to do. And it just made sense. And I don't think I was smart enough to realize you could fail.
That comes up a lot more than you would think. Let's take a break. My guest is Pete Micheals. You're watching Anything is Possible. Tell me about how vast your network is and what you've built.
We have, right now, we've got a network of 25 radio station frequencies.
Wow.
Now, that includes individual stations, that includes some simulcasting, AM, FM, maybe some translators. And of course, in addition to that, you may have seen areas where you see a news break and reporting.
Yeah.
That news break network carries all my information every 6 minutes, 24/7, on over 100 pumps. And that kind of exposure for clients is valuable.
Fantastic.
And the 25 stations account for maybe right now, some 50 share of the market.
Wow.
So it's worked out okay. It works out very well for the clients.
So you do TV, you do radio, you're on pumps, which tells me that the need to know what's going on in terms of traffic is platform agnostic. You'll put it wherever it needs to be. So are you finding that as the industry is changing, you're having to find new ways to innovate, to put your information and your data where people want it?
Yes, and I think we're actually in the process now. We have things set up to where I could add your email list to our master list, and you could receive every single report we send out 24/7, real time. I could set it up to where your website, if you were going to continue run Pete Micheals traffic, your website would automatically download it from a FTP server,
Right.
automatically upload it and run it.
And keep it continuous.
I've underproduced in that area. Maybe getting a little bit older, I've lost maybe some of the drive, although things continue to happen to give me a kick.
I'm with you just about every afternoon, and your energy, your passion is amazing. Tell me this. You said, maybe I'm not smart enough. I don't, here's what I've learned about possibility people. They see and seize opportunity. And you kept saying that over and over again, that I'm going in this direction, and then I go, wait a minute, here's an opportunity. Wait a minute, here's an opportunity. I think that's one of life's great graces, is the ability to go, wait a minute, what if I get a plane? Wait a minute, what if I learn to fly? Wait a minute, what if the other way? People who fail always go, what if I fail? People who succeed go, what if I succeed? And you've done that. Tell me, as we wrap, what you've learned about possibility and what you've learned about life and success.
I didn't know it at the time. I know now that anything is possible. I know that whether it's psychological, financial, whether it's professional, whether it's physical, anything is possible. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be playing in the NBA at 5'6".
Right.
At least, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
But just about, you can do anything. But it takes, I hate to say hard work, you have to be passionate about it. You have to find something you like and do it. You have to find a need and serve it. And then you have to be good at it. But I think if you're passionate about it, whatever you're doing, I think it can work out. I was very fortunate to keep on going when I didn't know where I was going. And it's turned out.
Well, I think you're fabulous at what you do. I think you have a great voice. I think you are an icon in our community, and you've built quite a wonderful brand. And I'm trying to think who you look like. And you look like Frank Sinatra.
I get that about once every few months. I got at the airport. I was out of town not too long ago. I don't see it, but I get it.
When you smile, you look like Frank Sinatra, and you also look like Joe Piscopo.
Wait a minute. DNA test. It could be something.
Has anybody told you that as well?
Not Joe, but I get it.
I think you got the perfect blend, but I want to thank you. We've shared some laughs on the radio, but I want you to know how much I love, admire, and appreciate what you do and who you are in our community, and you're a great model of possibility. And thank you for being here today.
I appreciate it. I love working with you. I'm very fortunate to have friends, very fortunate to live in East Tennessee, and I've got a great family, and I'm very, very, very fortunate. And thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, Frank.
Okay, Joe.